Guys, I think we need to have another candid discussion from Bungie about Destiny 2. Now, we've seen a lot of communication from Bungie over the past few weeks and months. Frankly, they've had little choice but to communicate because the player base, the community in general, have a lot of issues that they want to be addressed with the game. But I've been thinking about something. There's one kind of element that kind of unsettles me, or at least makes me feel a little bit uncomfortable when I really think about it. And it's something which probably affects quite a few other players as well, although it's not necessarily something that we always speak about. And so the issue I want to talk about is us as a player base, us as players of Destiny, understanding exactly what Bungie actually intend to do with this game. And when I say that, I'm not talking about, small updates or patches that are coming. I mean the much bigger fundamental kind of discussion about Destiny and what the game is supposed to be, because arguably Destiny does have a little bit of an identity crisis. If you look at Destiny 1 to Destiny 2, there's a lot of change there that has caused a lot of friction. Bungie attracted one player base with Destiny 1, then attempted to casualize it quite a lot with Destiny 2, which is something, frankly, that a lot of us saw coming. Leading up to D2, we learned about how Bungie were trying to streamline various systems, make them much more easier to understand and engage with for players. But I think at the same time, a lot of us kind of expected Bungie to use their past experience in order to produce a product that could engage different types of players. I personally am one of those guys. I thought to myself, well, we're seeing a lot of change here, but Bungie do have a whole ton of experience to work with. Look at what happened in D1. We saw nothing but improvements on the most part to the game, and Bungie managed to, produce content that both hardcore players really loved, as well as content that more casual, in inverted commas, more casual players could enjoy as well. And so honestly, I think that's the main reason that so few of us really expected Bungie to go the way that they did with D2. Now, of course, that has all come out. It's all been up in the air for months already. Bungie have been communicating. They've been bringing us smaller updates, most of which have definitely brought improvements to the game. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that the improvements have fixed the game, but on the most part, they are pretty much starting points for systems that are going to need a whole ton of work. And from May 27th, when we get that big sandbox update, we get Nightfall specific weapons. They are touching on some very important elements of the game. And from there, we're going to go into May. We'll get all of the marketing cycle for the next expansion. The cadence of content is pretty much guaranteed to improve, which is a good thing if you're still playing, especially because Destiny 2, frankly, is at its best when it has brand new content. But there are issues that Bungie haven't spoken about, and a lot of them are the bigger fundamental issues that players have with Destiny. Now, there is a lot of conversation about random rolls on pieces of gear. There are mixed opinions about whether that should be a thing in the game whatsoever. But I think the one thing that we just don't have a real sense of from Bungie right now is their impression of where we are and where we're going. Again, we've heard about the granular updates, but I think a lot of us want to know, what is it that you really want from this game now, Bungie? How is the direction going to change a little bit? Because presumably it is going to change. The model, the way that they handle content in Destiny 2 doesn't work in the long term. And so these are big things that I think Bungie should give us an indication of their intentions with. So firstly, progression. We know that ranked players coming to PvP, we hear about things like faction rally improvements, which are pretty vague. But here's the question, Bungie, do you want to continue producing content in the way that you have? Are things going to remain as accessible to players, or do you think that we need to have more value behind certain pieces of gear and then more chase for those pieces of gear? These are things we don't really have that much of an impression of right now. I'm going to go back to this age-old question, the 9th or 10th Better Devils question that Luke Smith basically posed himself. Is there an answer to that? Do you have anything in the works that is going to alleviate some of the issues here? We haven't heard Bungie come out and say, we believe that the fixed role system is still the best option. We haven't heard them say, we are going to change this and look towards more randomized attributes on gear in general. Despite my personal opinions, I'm not voting for one or the other. I'm just saying that we don't don't really know what it is Bungie want to do there. Here's another big one. We heard about mods 2.0. We basically had a very brief breakdown about what they want to do with the mods themselves, but here's the other big question. Is mods 2.0 your prospective answer to some of the problems? Are the mods themselves expected to alleviate the main issue with loot like weapons and armor? And of course, to break down some of those issues themselves, people right now don't feel like armor plays enough of a role. There is no reason really to choose any piece of gear. I could grab any piece of gear, re-roll it for one basic stat, and I'm all good. Is that good enough for Destiny, Bungie? Do you think that that's where we should be, or do you think we need more? I think there would be a fantastic opportunity for Bungie to look at some of these very big core elements, look at Destiny 1, look at Destiny 2 and talk about where we go from here. Because without having any of that stuff, we don't really know whether Bungie are truly on the same page as us. We don't know whether they're sitting there saying, well, these guys keep complaining about this, so we better chuck something in to try and stop them from complaining. Or is it the case that you're like, actually, yeah, we completely agree and we think we need much more work in that department. I think you guys probably understand what I'm saying. We really kind of need a top down, this is what we want to do with the game. Because without knowing that, everything else that we get is just on the same timer. Cool, you want to put secret exotic quests into the game. That is fantastic. We really enjoyed them in the past, but what happens after that? I think outside of all of the specific issues players may have with the weapon system or PvP or PvE, there is also on top of that the big question, which is, why should we keep playing the game? Why is investment going to be more worthwhile in the future? Because that's a big problem right now. Players say there's no reason to play Destiny, I can't get anything new from it, there's nothing different that's going to excite me, and outside of new content itself, Destiny 1 provided more ways to provide progression and content in between the big updates. So those are my thoughts, guys. The one thing I would finish with is just one question. What is the fundamental thing that you would love to see in Destiny? If you had to choose one thing, what would you say is the most important thing that you would need to see in the future to make this game more engaging, to make you want to come back or to continue playing it? Like I've said, now is a very good time for feedback. Bungie are going to be making very big, important decisions that are going to affect the content we get in 6 or 7 months' time from now. And so we need to make sure the cadence of communication on our side keeps up. So leave your thoughts down below, guys, but if you have enjoyed the video or found it interesting, a like is very much appreciated. If you want to hear more conversation about Destiny 2 in the future, be sure to hit that subscribe button. But for now, I hope you guys have an awesome day.